In this episode of Biblical Unlocks, we will go through a chapter of the Bible and make it make sense in your life today. Studies routinely show that reading your Bible regularly significantly lowers symptoms of depression, anxiety, and anger, whilst also increasing forgiveness, compassion, and a sense of purpose. So if you enjoy episodes like this, please consider following and rating the show. It's free, helps me out a lot, and you can always change your mind later. Enjoy the show. So, in this episode of Biblical Unlocks, we're going to go through Genesis chapter 5. Unfortunately, Genesis chapter 5 is a quite long genealogy. However, it's a link. Okay, this chapter is a bridge between the creation account we saw between Genesis 1 to 3, and then after that we had Cain and Abel, the whole situation there, and then we're going to have a flood narrative between Genesis 6 to 9. Okay. Now, the important thing to remember is whilst a genealogy is basically the names of people sequentially, right? It is important and it has theological significance because it shows the continuity of God's plan, okay, and eternal promise and covenantal promise, okay? So whilst it is annoying to read, it is important nonetheless, okay? So let's go through. Now, the important thing to remember is that we will see certain biblical unlocks within the genealogy, so I want you to pay the attention nonetheless. Okay, so let's read verses 1 to 8. This is the list of the descendants of Adam. I want you to think, why do they record so many years? And what does longevity communicate about early humanity? So you'll see these guys are going to live for a long time. Okay, this is the list of the descendants of Adam. When God created humans, he made them in the likeness of God. Male and female he created them, and he blessed them and called them humans when they were created. When Adam had lived 130 years, he became the father of a son in his likeness according to his image, and named him Seth. The days of Adam after he became the father of Seth was 800 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Thus all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. When Seth had lived 105 years, he became the father of Enosh. Seth lived after the birth of Enosh 807 years, and had other sons and daughters. Thus all the days of Seth were 912 years, and he died. Okay, so why record so many years? And what does longevity communicate about early humanity? What do you think? Next, verses 9 to 14. We're going to see the same pattern from the next people, Kenan to Mahalalel, right? Life, fatherhood, death. And how does this regular rhythm shape your view of legacy? When Enosh had lived 90 years, he became the father of Kenan. Enosh lived after the birth of Kenan 815 years and had other sons and daughters. Thus all the days of Enosh were 905 years, and he died. Then Kenan lived 70 years. He became the father of Mahalalel. Kenan lived after the birth of Mahalalel 840 years and had other sons and daughters. Thus all the days of Kenan were 910 years, and he died. Okay, now we're going to see from Jared to Enoch, and Enoch is going to break the regular formula, and I want you to pay attention to what is said. Why is Enoch's ending slightly different? When Mahalalel lived 65 years, he became the father of Jared. Mahalalel lived after the birth of Jared 830 years and had other sons and daughters. Thus all the days of Mahalalel were 895 years, and then he died. When Jared had lived 162 years, he became the father of Enoch. Jared lived after the birth of Enoch 800 years and had other sons and daughters. Thus all the days of Jared were 962 years, and he died. When Enoch had lived 65 years, he became the father of Methuselah. Enoch walked with God after the birth of Methuselah 300 years and had other sons and daughters. Thus all the days of Enoch were 300 465 years. Enoch walked with God. He was no more because God took him. So what does it mean to walk with God? And why is his ending different? And why does he live the smallest amount of years so far? Okay, next. We have 25 verses 25 to 32. We have it from Methuselah to Lamech to Noah. Okay. And we're going to see some important unlocks here as well. Methuselah lived 187 years. He became the father of Lamech. Methuselah lived after the birth of Lamech 782 years and had other sons and daughters. Thus all the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died. When Lamech had lived 182 years, he became the father of a son. He named him Noah, saying, "Out of the ground that the Lord has cursed us, this one shall bring us relief from our work and from the toil of our hands." Lamech lived after the birth of Noah 595 years, and had other sons and daughters. Thus all the days of Lamech were 777 years, and he died. After Noah was 500 years old, Noah became the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So, why does Lamech name Noah and speak of comfort? That he's going to bring us relief from the work and toil of our hands. Alright, time for some deep biblical unlocks, explanations. So, obviously we are reading a genealogy. However, it's important to recognize that genealogies are not just some filler episode, like in a show, right? What it is telling us the legitimacy, identity, and inheritance of particular people in the Bible. Now, I don't know if this is pretty interesting, but I want to show you something as well about this particular genealogy, because it is a bit weird. Now, I've seen this a lot on TikTok, Instagram, this sort of things, but it is quite interesting. If we take a look at the genealogy in Genesis 5 and you understand the meaning, right, it actually becomes a very telling what we're going to be seeing. Okay, so in Genesis 5, the genealogy starts with Adam. Adam in Hebrew means man. Okay, Seth in Hebrew means appointed. Now, I need to double check the Hebrew meaning of each one of these names in Hebrew, but it does specify, and it does mean something quite interesting here. So Adam means appointed. Seth is the next guy, which means Adam means man. Seth is the next one, which means appointed. Enosh is mortal. Kenan is sorrow. Mahalalel is the blessed God. Jared means shall come down. Enoch, teaching. Methuselah means his death shall bring. Lamech is despairing. Noah means comfort and rest. So if we put all of it together, it means man appointed, mortal sorrow, the blessed God shall come down, teaching, his death shall bring, despairing, comfort, rest. That is crazy. It is literally, even though we're looking at this and we're saying, oh, this is so boring, this genealogy is literally a prophecy about Jesus Christ, if the Hebrew is what it is. Obviously, I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. There are other places in the Old Testament where Jesus Christ is more explicitly referred to, but this is pretty cool, no? Okay, so we see the genealogy. It's not necessarily a filler thing. It's meant to connect the created order, and then we're going to see a great flood later on. Okay, so we constantly see the refrain, and then he died, and then he died, and then he died at the end of every single verse. And the reason why is because this is now the human condition. This is the inescapable human condition because of the fall that we saw in Genesis 3:19. Why? Because if we see in Genesis 3:19, what happens? What does God say? He says, "By the sweat of your face you shall eat bread until you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken. You are dust, and unto dust you shall return." So, Now we are returning to dust because we will die. You will surely die after you eat the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And this is exactly what's happening. Okay, now something which is a little bit interesting here is the long lifespans that we're seeing. And we see like 930 years, 912 years, 905 years. So the reason why is because in the ancient Near East, so in the cultural and societal context within which the Bible was written, they have both historic memory and theological emphasis. Okay, it's not necessarily representative of what actually occurred, but rather it's meant to illustrate something which is more symbolic. That is, God's patience and moral development of the individuals in question. It should also be noted that there are different textual traditions, like the Septuagint, which is the Old Testament, or what we're reading, translated into Greek. There are varying numbers in each one of these. Now, that's more of a textual, historical sort of issue. It's not necessarily impeding on the theological understanding, because all of them have high numbers or long lifespans. And what that inclines us to do, or asks us to question, is God's timing and God's purpose, and the purpose behind God's long lifespans. Okay, the important one I wanted you to focus on as well, apart from the fact that this genealogy is pretty cool, the verse 24, where you see Enoch walked with God, then he was no more because God took him. This is actually something which is really important, this one verse, because Enoch serves as an example in Hebrews chapter 11, chapter 11, verse 5, and in Jude chapter 1, verse 14 to 15. I read Jude way back when. That's the first episode I ever did. So let's take a look and see what happens. Hebrews 11:5. By faith Enoch was taken, so that he did not experience death, and he was not found, because God had taken him. For it was attested before he was taken away that he had pleased God. So the writer of Hebrew is actually anonymous, so we have no idea who he was. But what we do know is he had an insane understanding of the Old Testament. Like, we're talking insane levels. He knew everything. Okay, maybe not everything, but he knew so much about the Old Testament, because he was able to pick out this one verse, not even one verse, like these collection of 4 verses, and be able to connect it deeply to some deep biblical unlock. So we see here again, Enoch walked with God. That's what it says. All the days of his life he walked, and then he was no more because God took him. He did not die. Did you notice? Did you catch that? Every other person in this entire genealogy died except Enoch, because Enoch walked with God. That's why. In Jude 14 to 15, we read the same thing as well. It was also about that Enoch, in the 7th generation from Adam, prophesied, saying, See, the Lord is coming with 10,000s of his holy ones, to execute judgment on all, and to convict all the ungodly of all the deeds of ungodliness that they had committed in such an ungodly way, and of all the harsh things that ungodly sinners have spoken against him. So Enoch is, we see a prophetic line from Enoch here, but the important thing to remember here is that Enoch is modeling faithful fellowship and honoring the covenant, and because of that, God miraculously and unusually preserves him. The final deep biblical unlock I want you to remember is that Noah is, what does Noah represent? Noah is a root coming from the word rest/comfort, and Lamech names him that because, and prophesies that Noah will bring relief from cursed toil, pointing to Noah as the one who mediates mercy in a broken world. And this is exactly what's going to happen in the next verses, in the next chapter. So what we need to do is we need to practice walking with God, and we need to allow God, just like Noah as well, but just like Enoch, we walk with God by faith, and not trust in our own thoughts, not trust in our own desires, but rather trust in God's desires, because when we walk with God, we're walking at his same speed, we're walking in step with God, and we're trusting that God is going to take us in the right direction. That's how we walk with God. So, that's the important thing here. So even though this is a genealogy, there's deep biblical unlocks that we can identify even through this. I'm just going to say this genealogy one more time because it was pretty cool. So Adam means man, Seth means appointed, Enosh means mortal, Kenan means sorrow, Mahalalel means the blessed God, Jared means shall come down, Enoch means teaching, Methshalai means his death shall bring, Lamech means despairing, Noah means rest. So man is appointed moral sorrow, but the blessed God shall come down, teaching that his death shall bring the despairing rest. Insane. So the verse to remember is Genesis chapter 5, verse 24. Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. That's all for this episode of Biblical Unlocks. This podcast is designed to help you build your habit of reading the Bible, understanding the Bible, and applying it in your daily life. I upload daily, so if you don't want to miss tomorrow's video, please consider following and rating the show. Otherwise, have a blessed day. And remember, if you're not in your word, you're in your feelings. Godspeed.